Good day to you all, Greenbeak here, and welcome back to Copper Island. This is episode 2 of this brand new series here on my channel. I do hope you enjoyed the first one. I am currently pre-recording, so I haven't managed to check out the support on the last episode, but hopefully a lot of you guys enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the future of the series. Now, if you didn't catch it, I encourage you to go see it. The link to the episode is in the description. But to summarize a bit, this series is based on the northeastern part of the US. It's not inspired by one city in general, but it's more like pretty much like typical American city or Canadian in any case. Now, as I said, I didn't draw inspiration from one specific city, but that's why I tend to go for a lot of different styles in this town here, or in this region. So I might throw in buildings that suits more eastern theme, or maybe a bit southern. Basically whatever fits and looks good, and whatever is available on the workshop, because I can't make assets. I probably could if I put time and effort into it, but I tend to do other things instead, and that's why I just take different assets that is available to me on the workshop. And there's a lot of them that looks really good. A lot of buildings I already plopped down are from King Leno, and I think a few buildings from a guy called Die Hard Hunter that has made a lot of buildings for the a series made by Taser. I can't remember the name of the series, but I remember I watched it, and that gave a lot of inspiration for making of this series as well. Now, to talk a bit about what you see on camera and what we're doing in this episode. We're building a harbor area, which will be will be the main harbor in this region, where a lot of import and export of goods and people will occur, and also a lot of ferries around to the several different islands in this region. They will all come back to this port right here that we're working on right now. And this harbor area will also be filled with different warehouses and factories that are vanilla, in fact, that just got implemented into the game last year during the Industries DLC. And also some oil tanks and a forestry area, which I think is in the thumbnail. Specifically that part I'm very pleased with. That looks kind of cool in my opinion. Now, the design part of this harbor area is mostly inspired by some different harbors I see on Google Earth. Some in British Columbia in Canada, and also in Oregon, I think, or Washington, somewhere around there. And I wanted it to be like the whole Copper Island is very how should I say, like smooth around the edges, if you know what I mean. Like the map, it looks very realistic, and there is no like rough edges. I don't know if that made any sense, but I wanted this harbor to be sort of an area that sticks out if you see it from above, with these rough edges that I made by using I think it's a custom seawall or key or whatever it's called. I think I downloaded it from the workshop, or it might actually be the vanilla key that you got in game. But definitely wanted to try something that really stands out, and when you see it from above you can clearly see that it is actually man-made and not something that nature has done. So that was sort of the idea behind it, and you can see in the in the cinematics at the end that it definitely stands out from everything else we got so far. Now this ferry terminal that we're working on, I sort of went with the idea that we should definitely have like ferries that cars can drive onto. If let's say there's another big island outside of this map that people need their car to drive to, then they just drive onto this harbor right here that we're building and park up, and once the boat actually comes in, you just drive onto the ferry, because there is a lot of islands around this main island right here on this map, and they are big enough to have people living on them and maybe other things there as well. So if there are people living there, they should have the opportunity to get their car from one place to another. And although this doesn't actually work in game, it definitely looks good and looks realistic. And I might actually plop down cars in terms of props in this area right here, so it actually looks like there are cars queuing up and waiting to get onto the boat. Because right now it's looks kind of desolated, but everything looks a lot better once I plop down different buildings around it and make it look a bit more alive. And cars actually use this road that I have placed down, although they only use it to turn around like a U-turn. But it's cool seeing every now and then traffic down there, even though they don't go all the way, of course, since the part closest to the sea there is completely made out of props in a way of ploppable asphalt. You can just search that up on the Steam Workshop. It's a great. I think it's actually a mod as well. You can just place down these props and change the color of them so they match. So they match the asphalt that you got in game, and in that way you can make you can make roads that doesn't actually work because it's just props, but they look good, and that's actually everything I do in this series is making something that usually doesn't work, but it looks good. And right now I'm placing down different warehouses. First I tried to hide this this ferry stop that I placed down, but I went with the idea that it should still be there, and it could operate as sort of an entrance for people wanting to use the ferry, but not needing to get a car with them. So people go in there and they go in directly into the ferry. So it's just like a pedestrian entrance for the ferries. Now I use a lot of different mods in this series and a lot of different custom assets. I think I have 50 mods in this save game, and I think I have 2,500 assets, which for some people sounds like a lot, and for others it's barely nothing. I want to talk about that because it would of course be cool to one day release the save game, and if you wanted to try and do something else with this CD, you could have the opportunity to. The only thing is, when you gotta release the save game, you have to think about that the people that wants to download the save game, they also need to download all the different mods and assets, or else there will be basically nothing in the city. And the way to do that is you create these collections on the Steam Workshop, and I can't do that with mods, because then I just have to add like 50 different mods to the collection, and that's fine, it doesn't take too long. But once you gotta plop down 2,500 different assets into one collection, it takes a lot of time. I actually tried with my last series. I had roughly the same amount of assets in that one, but it just takes too long, because as I said, you gotta go into each and every asset and then click like a button that says add to collection, and you gotta do that 2,500 times, and yeah, I don't really feel like I have the time for that. So right now there is no plan to release the save game in any form, right now at least. And also in this harbor area, as you can see here, I needed to implement or needed to put in a lot of other services as well, like recycling right here. These are probably one of the most subscribed assets ever, I think. I feel like they've been around forever. I can't remember what they're called, but I think you just search for recycling center on the workshop, you can find them easily there. And I placed down, I think after a while I placed down maybe 2 or 3 of them. 2 of them I linked up, so it sort of looks like one entire building, because I think just one recycling center like this to service this entire region isn't quite enough, so that's why I placed down 3 of them. And because I don't think there will be that many more different what should I say, industry areas around in this region. This will by far be the largest one. I might have like a small one further away on the other side of the map, but initially this is like the main part, and this will be the one that services the entire region. And I also placed down other services like road maintenance building, placed down a bit down the road here, and also a bus depot and a taxi depot, just to sort of have the basics, because as I said earlier, the city doesn't quite work in the way that we don't make any money, but we have fire coverage, police coverage, healthcare, we got all of that, we got a bunch of schools, and now we also got a recycling center, and yeah, it does actually work, and probably down the road we will actually start making money once we got enough people moving in. And I actually can also go ahead and, you know, bump up the taxes, because I think I have the no abandonment mod, and I think that makes it so that people don't move away even though you charge them with like 30% tax, which they usually do not like anymore, more than 12, I think 11, 12. If not, they have to live in a really fancy area, but usually 12 I think is the limit. Everything above that you gotta have quite a high like a leisure level, and haven't really thought about that while playing this game. It's yeah, mainly aesthetics that we focus on in this series, and making it look realistic. Now I don't know if you can see this, but I have a train track going right in the middle of the road here. Now the idea behind it, I sort of just came up with it as I went along in, I think, the last episode, or maybe it was in between episodes, I don't quite remember. But I was picturing that before, many years ago, this was just a train track going down here for different like cargo trains to pick up maybe lumber or something like that, or maybe drop off lumber, and eventually they closed down the like the services, and now they only go by trucks or maybe ships. But the train track still is there, and they didn't remove it. They sort of just paved the road on top of it, which is it looks cool, and they don't seem to mind driving over it. So I'm gonna keep it right now, and it looks very cool, especially in the suburban area with all the different houses. Just have sort of just train track going right through in the middle of the road there. It looks different, and you know, that's something we try to achieve. And also placing down more warehouses here, just to get a lot of jobs available for the people in town. Because as I said, I want a city to function a bit. So now the Sims in this town, at least a few of them, have some jobs to attend to. And I do think that every warehouse I plop down is a custom one, but they in game they work as a normal warehouse. At least a few of them. The rest I think works as like a normal industrial building. So there is actually, as I said, workplaces in the building, and with that you also get some traffic in this area, which is lovely to see, because building an area and basically have nothing in there, and by doing that you get no traffic in there, and it looks kind of like deserted and not like a town that has people actually living in it. So once I'm done, I actually get a lot of traffic down here, a lot of different trucks going in and out, and that's lovely to see, because then it really looks very realistic and it looks like people actually living in here.
Can things ever be the same? All I do is see things slipping through my fingers when he turns and walks away. Yes, there he goes. The things I wanna say, and maybe he'll listen someday. I know it is not enough to say I'm sorry.
And I was this area that I'm working on here, the little triangle, I was kind of thinking of different ideas to plop down here. I went with a sort of like a garbage dump. Plop down these props here. I would imagine it's a place where they just drop off garbage, and you know, since it's close to the it's in the harbor, then maybe some ships will come in and take them with them somewhere else. I don't know. Yeah, it's just basically a filler, because I didn't really know what to place down in this area. So generally I just, when I have that sort of issue, I just go ahead and place a lot of different props in, just to make sure it kind of looks like there's something in there. And of course placing down some different containers that every harbor definitely needs to have. I think this is a container pack by Avanya, I think. So if you want to take a look at them, you can search that up on the workshop. And also this area needs some parking lots. I would imagine this parking lot right here might be like a long-term parking lot. No, I think this should be like a short-term. If people come in and they buy a ticket to the ferry, and it's a few, like 2 hours till the ferry actually comes, they can, instead of queuing up in the other spot, they can go ahead and just park the car right there, and just you know, wait for the ferry to arrive. Now, as I said earlier, I am recording this ahead of time, Today I think it's May 6th or 7th. Yeah, something like that. No, it might be actually 5th. Yeah. Anyways, tomorrow I just read that City Skylines, or the City Skylines YouTube channel, will have like a sort of announcement stream, which will basically be like a YouTube stream or Twitch stream, I don't know. Basically them announcing something, probably a DLC to this game, or right now you actually know what will happen, because this will be out probably several days after the stream, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a DLC of some sort. I was actually hoping to create a video fairly shortly that was sort of like a speculation video of what would be the next DLC for City Skylines. Sadly they beat me to it, but I might create a short video of sort of like a reaction to the stream and to the DLC. You know, what this will mean and what they might actually implement, and you know how this might affect the player base, because you know with every DLC it's an update, and which will mean that some mods will be broken, and many mods, or the creative mods, they have to sort of take down the mod and just work on it to make sure that it actually works after the update as well. So it's sort of like a big it's a big thing whenever a DLC comes along, because people are afraid that their mod heavy cities will corrupt and won't work anymore because of the DLC. But I remember last time, if you just got the like typical mods that a lot of different people have, then you shouldn't really worry too much. It's because the creators of these, they are very active in this community, in the City Skylines community, so they usually follow up very fast. And I think after the last update, it went like 2 or 3 days, and then suddenly most of the big mods, they were back up and running in no time. Now I also placed down, as I said, a bus depot and a taxi depot here, and also some unique factories from the last DLC that came out like half a year ago. One I think is a food factory, and the other one is a shipyard. Now I placed down these two because I was sort of running out of these to plop down in this harbor area. So I chose these two because simply they were two big buildings, and I actually kind of like these vanilla buildings, because I feel like they got some very nice texture to them, and they look pretty good. They look a lot better than the older buildings that were implemented in the start of the game. Although I think during updates they actually gone ahead and made them a bit better. I think so. It definitely looks like it. But yeah, there are some vanilla buildings that look actually quite good, and these two are a great example of them.
With the words of a lullaby, I've been trying to make sense of it all, looking for signs in the stars, but it's been right in front of me this whole time. Can't believe I didn't see the light. I'd count
And now we're actually reaching the part that is my favorite part of this episode. It's actually a very easy or simple premise. It's basically oil tanks and logs, which is sounds pretty boring, but in the end it looks kind of great in my opinion. I placed down these oil tanks around this area, and sort of want to go with like a low maintenance kind of style that like it's still working, but there's very little traffic in this area, and it's very much taken over sort of by nature. And what's really cool about these oil tanks is they come in different shapes and sizes, and sort of when you look from a certain angle, it sort of gets like a sort of a skyline feel, like when you look at a city, like a big downtown core with all of these different kinds of buildings. You get the same kind of feeling, like an industrial skyline, which is pretty cool, and I have grabbed a lot of screenshots, certainly in that area. So really happy with how they turned out. But I'm also very happy with this forestry import-export area. I don't know quite what to call them, but it's basically just place down a lot of different kinds of logs, and trying to make it look like I place the logs on land and in the water, because basically definitely in the old time, it sounds like medieval time, but like 100 years ago, or maybe even later than that, they used to transport logs by rivers and stuff like that. And if they didn't have a river, then like if they had sort of like a lake or something, they would just take the logs in the water, and then they would have sort of like a rope going around it, and connecting it up to a boat that sort of dragged all of these different logs to the designated area that they wanted to take it to transfer it to. And I'm picturing that all of these logs come from different islands around Copper Island and different parts of this region, and then they are transferred to this part, taken up on shore to just dry off and something like that, and then they are put on these trucks to then drive them to, I don't know, drive them to different maybe different kinds of factories that make, I don't know, planks and stuff like that. I'm not completely sure what. And so a lot of inspiration from this area in particular comes from me spending time on Google Earth, looking at small towns around Vancouver Island, and like small coastal towns, where very often they had an area quite like this, with some industrial buildings and all of these different logs on shore and in the water, because yes, 100 years ago forestry industry was very important for many different parts of the US and Canada, and it still is in many ways, although they probably different kinds of industries that come in and taking over some of that spot, but it's sort of like historical and like tradition filled industry, I would feel like, because it is kind of cool knowing that you're doing it the exact same way as they did for 100 years ago. It's a method that actually works, and it's cool to see, and I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I never done anything like this before, and I haven't really seen anyone do it as well, so yeah, quite happy with how this turned out, and then the rest of the episode is just me placing down more foliage and decals and stuff like that, just to make this part of the harbor area look a bit more, as I said earlier, low maintenance. And after that, this episode will come to an end. I got some nice cinematics at the end here, which I hope you will, which I will hope you stay and watch. Got some pretty nice views of this area, and all in all, I'm pretty happy about the progress in this episode, and I hope that you guys enjoy this series as much as I do. And if you do, then consider leaving a like on this episode right here, and consider subscribing for even more. And also check out the previous episode if you want to take a look at that one as well. Next episode we are going to work on the local high school, and continue working on the commercial main strip that we started in the last episode. So that one will come up pretty soon, I hope. I got the footage ready, I just need to edit the video and record audio, and then it's good to go. Now if you want to get in touch, then just hit me up in the comment section down below, or follow me on Twitter. I'm trying to post a lot more there than I'm doing right now, but not of course too much. It's mostly screenshots and different kinds of announcements, so yeah, consider following me there as well. But that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.
Rain, storm, or blue sky soldier.